what we were doing with this record, and there were other producers that used our studio in the same way, but Mike did this in particular for this record. He would basically stripe the ADAT with every track that you hear, every sound that you hear. So we would have like, you know, fucking like 21 tracks worth of music before anyone even stepped in a booth in some cases. And then we would record the vocals on those last three, five, 8 tracks maybe. Um, and then everything was automated. So almost all of the drops you hear, to my recollection, are automated on a board. So he definitely did some arranging in like song mode on the MPC, but most of it was like, all right, here's the vocalist that comes in. Let's mute these, mute 15, 16, 17, mute that, leave this up, and let him record over just this element of the beat. And we would record it, knock it out, and then after we were in mix mode, before we really mixed, it would be like arrange mode. And Mike would just sit in front of the board. We had a Panasonic Ramza DA7. That was the name of the board. That was what we had. And it was a dope board. And basically on that Panasonic, you would automate, and almost all of the arrangement you hear on here on songs like Cave Theme and Monkey Theme and Figurine Theme, it's just, and actually February 4th, 99 was done the same way. Where like, and that's the one that really will blow your mind. If you listen to that track on After Future, I can remember distinctly like him automating the fade up of the second part of that song.
Oh, wow.
But those instruments, those strings that play on the second part of February 4th are playing the whole time. That's just the faders are down. And so he orchestrated this change, around the vocal. And that was how a lot of this record was produced too. And Monkey Theme in particular, since we're talking about the Saul session, like Saul came in as and I keep saying this, and I don't want to say it to be annoying, but I do want to say it to be honest. These are my memories. Anyone that participated in these sessions may have a slightly different memory. Either one of us could be wrong. But these sessions, like the session with Saul in particular, like he came in and laid down, I think 3 to 4 takes, like just right next to each other. And he kind of like just ad-libbed a bunch of stuff. Like he had, like I said, like a loose parameter. And I saw Mike do the same thing when he recorded different tracks. I think it was just something that people that came from that poet school did, is they would sort of have a loose idea, maybe like, a couple of bars that were certainly written to paper and were read exact, but then they would just kind of vamp off of ideas. And Saul did that on this song for like 4 tracks. And so you hear like the part where he's singing, and there's a part where he's doing vocals, and there's all these different sections. Those were put together because, and I don't believe that we were able to copy and paste them, at least not well. Like when we would copy and paste, it was a pain in the ass because we would like stripe it into Digital Performer and then move it and then bring it back into the ADAT. So we rarely did that. I hated doing that. And I can't even remember how many, it was probably a handful of times that anyone even requested that. So I believe, since knowing that about our limits with copying and pasting, that arrangement really came by the combination of talent and chance. You know what I mean? Like that,
Right.
he did certain things in certain parts, and Mike was able to sit down afterwards and then kind of formulate that just by doing, arrangement on the board automation wise. The beat and the vocals were both just being used as what was there. And through trial and error, he was able to get that to sound like a complete thought. Not that it wasn't before, but you know what I mean? Like a complete arrangement or composition, right. I should say. It obviously was a complete thought. So as a complete composition from beginning to end, and he took those pieces. And Liza Jesse Peterson's session was also very similarly done. So that's why I know it comes from like a lot of those people that came from that poetry school, that's sort of the way that they approach recording. And we had a similar situation, and both of those sessions, I felt like maybe Mike felt the same way, maybe he didn't, but the vibe for me after seeing and hearing what they did was that was incredible. But what the fuck are we gonna do now? It was kind of like this is like so much material, and because those beats on those two particular songs are so detailed and
Yeah.
so like overproduced in the best way possible, that there was just so much to work with, and that was all Mike obviously doing that in making them the songs that they are today, but that process wasn't easy either.